and Australia. The wing attack's been named in the New Zealand A side, but will still train with the Ferns after missing out on last month's Netball World Cup. Taurua says Tauiava's physical and mental fitness standards are not up to scratch.
She's not quite ready at the moment to take or to get out on court. Hence, we still want her to be a part of our setup and work once again to get her back into the mix again.
Netball coverage with Netball New Zealand. Tickets for the Cadbury Netball Series on sale now. All Blacks forwards coach Jason Ryan will look to Sam Whitelock's Rugby World Cup experience as they embark on the 2023 campaign this week. Whitelock will play in his fourth tournament with 2 wins and a third placing from his visits so far. Closing in on Richie McCaw's all-time Test caps record, Ryan says that's experience you can't buy as a forwards coach.
He's a special New Zealander. Yeah, he just challenges the group and he's got a good way of just, mentioning things at the right time, and sometimes it's not what you want to hear, but it's from a good place.
Canberra will be without Sebastian Kris for the NRL finals. The Centres copped a 5-game ban for spear tackling Sione Katoa in the 24-6 loss to the Sharks. The Raiders face the red-hot Knights on Sunday. I'm Nathan Lim. That's Newstalk ZB News and Sport with Wet and Forget. It's springtime and that's Wet and Forget time. It's 4:05. Heather Plessis-Allan is next.
Newstalk ZB Auckland. Time saver traffic.
Auckland City Toyota used car spring sale, save thousands. The Southern Motorway southbound is heavy but moving between Gillies Ave and Highbrook. Citybound is heavy from Mount Wellington to Green Lane. Southwest and southbound a heavy run from George Bott Memorial. Northbound is heavy from Beta to Walmsley. Northwest and citybound heavy at the Northern Link. Light flows westbound though from Grafton Gully. Northbound moderate and building approaching Upper Harbour. Hundreds of Toyotas on sale. Shop Auckland City Toyota, Grey Lynn, Green Lane or Mount Wellington.
Newstalk ZB Weather Watch 24/7 with Mercedes-Benz Botany. Guarantee your future value with Agility Finance. Strong wind advisory for the harbours. For Manukau, northeast 25 to 35 knots. Waitemata easterly 25 to 35, but then rising up to 40 for a time this afternoon and evening. Gale warning for Hauraki Gulf, northeast 30, gusting 40, 35 to 45 about the outer Gulf. Gale warning for Bream, head to Cape Colville, easterly 35 up to 45. High tides tonight in Auckland 5 to 11, 10 to 2 tomorrow morning for Onehunga. Periods of rain today in Auckland, possibly heavy and strong nor'easterly winds. Warm overnight low of 13, and tomorrow rain persistent in the afternoon. 15 now.
Thrashing out the big issues, analysing the facts, throwing out the fiction. It's pure, unfiltered opinion. No topic off limits, no holding back, no scripts, no rules, no bull. Heather Plessis-Allan, Barry Soper, Phil O'Reilly, Richard Hills. The Front Bench on your home for election 2023. Newstalk ZB.
Afternoon, 4:07. Welcome to the show. Coming up today, the CTU's President Richard Wagstaff on the attack ad in the Herald today. Health New Zealand on the doctor strike tomorrow, and we will talk to a guy who is trapped at Burning Man over in Nevada. But right now, we are kicking off our campaign coverage properly. With me in studio is Barry Soper, Phil O'Reilly and Richard Hills. We're going to spend the next hour talking about the past week and also the week ahead in politics. The attack ad, the dental policy, Nationals missing tax money and the protests, all of that between 4 and 5. Welcome to the Front Bench.
The Front Bench.
All right, the attack ad. Let's talk about that first. Now, the attack ad, if you haven't seen it, is paid for by the CTU. It's on the front page of the Herald today, and it's featuring a picture of Chris Luxon looking like the ghost of Muldoon with the words, "Out of touch, too much risk" at the bottom. Now, obviously, the Council of Trade Unions is doing this on behalf of the Labour Party, who are they very tight with. First of all, people are pretty upset about this. Chris Bishop is extremely upset, has accused the Labour Party of waging the most negative campaign in its history. Let's not blow this out of proportion. Attack ads aren't new. Political parties and their mates and various interest groups, they do them every single election. But this one is, I will grant them, slightly different. It is a little bit more gross because traditionally the attack ads in New Zealand are attacks on policies and parties, not on people. Attacking people is actually really rare in this country. Chris Hipkins today tried to say it was okay because he and the Labour Party have been the victims of attack ads themselves from the Taxpayers Union, who are mates on the right. And he had 3 examples of this. But his comparison is ridiculous because all 3 examples he used were attacks on policies, not on people. They were attacking Labour's RMA replacement, Labour's 3 Waters policy, and also Labour's new taxes. Now, because this is an attack on a person, I think it's actually going to backfire on the CTU and Labour because Kiwis don't really like these kinds of negative campaigns, right? So a lot of voters actually might end up feeling a little sorry for Chris Luxon. I mean, yesterday he was wheeling his kids out on stage. He's a dad. There are a lot of people who are going to worry about how this makes his family feel about him. Also runs the risk of making Labour look like the bully, but it definitely, without doubt, makes Labour and their mates look desperate, especially after 5 years of harping on about us all needing to be kind. But finally, and most importantly, the reason I reckon that this is backfiring is because it just saved National from itself. I mean, National was starting yesterday to come under some real pressure on its tax plan, and the fact that there is no way that it's going to make $740 million off foreigners buying houses. It was on the evening news on both TV channels last night. Those are the days, Sundays, are the days that are traditionally the highest rating for both of the TV channels. So this was definitely going to be news again today, and the National Party was going to have to answer questions about it today. But then the CTU put out the ad in the Herald this morning and changed the subject for them. So they just helped National get off the hook, and now they, National, look like the victims of an attack at the same time. So I would say this is already a fail.
The Front Bench.
Of course, you are more than welcome to send your texts in. Let me know what you think. 9292 is the text number. We'll start with, of course, let me introduce him, the Front Bench, Barry Soper, our senior political correspondent, Phil O'Reilly, Iron Duke Partners and former CEO of Business New Zealand, Richard Hills, Auckland councillor. Hello, guys.
G'day.
Lots of diversity, as we were saying earlier. It's very nice to have some diversity.
White men.
That's exactly right.
A great gender balance as well.
Yeah. Phil, is this going to backfire on the CTU and Labour?
Well, it'll backfire on the CTU in the sense that if the government changes, they'll have been seen to be very politicised. When I was at Business New Zealand, you'd never do anything like that because you had to go to any government and represent your members to them, right? The CTU's just said, actually, if National gets in, don't deal with us. And actually, workers need a voice in any government. So I think it has backfired certainly on the CTU, and I'd be interested to see their reaction.
What do you reckon, Richard?
Yeah, personally, I don't like attack ads, and I don't think they actually work. I don't think there's any proof in New Zealand that they work. I think it is a bit rich for National to be crying foul on this. If you look through National Party social media, it's all attack ads of different parties throughout the last year, all over the place. But I do think you have a point on the policies versus people. If you go into that website, which I did after I looked at it, it talks about that they're going to cut the prescriptions. It talks about they're going to axe fair pay agreements for cleaners and bus drivers. And those are kind of the things that you want to be talking about. But instead, we're talking about an attack on a person, which is probably not going to be the best outcome.
Yeah, Barry, you've seen a fair few attack ads in your years. How does this one rate?
Well, like you said, this is very personal, but it's interesting that Chris Hipkins said at his stand-up today that he knew that the CTU was about to post this.
Of course he knew about it. They would have got the okay,
but the point that I'm making is that if he knew, he would know that all the debate about National's taxation policy was now forgotten. Now we're talking about the Herald running a front-page attack ad. I mean, it's worked. It'll work against Labour because they were being forced into a corner, National was, to an extent, but they were arguing it, and it was a good argument. Now the argument's lost. We're now talking about attack ads.
Yeah, okay, let's have a listen to what the Prime Minister, Chris Hipkins, had to say about this attack ad.
The National Party and their surrogates, including the Taxpayers Union, Groundswell, Hobson's Pledge and so on, have been running attack ads against me and against the government, the Labour government, since the day I took on the job. If the Christopher Luxon and the National Party are going to do that every time someone critiques or criticises what they're doing, I think they probably need to rethink whether or not they're cut out to be in government.
Richard, you know what I think about the comparison. I don't think it's a fair one. What do you think?
Yeah, I think he is pointing out that they're not personal as in they are about them personally, but it is pictures of them dressed up, caricatures, made them to look stupid.
They're actually quite fun. I mean, Grant
I like
Robertson,
the one with the Hoover and Grant Robertson.
It's quite funny, isn't it?
I mean, they love it, and that's why I think Chris Hipkins is kind of saying, we never complain when this happens to us. Get over it. So in some respects, I don't think it's a good idea to run attack ads, and if it's going to be ramped up, I just think it just means people turn away from politics.
And in fairness to the National Party, I mean, they didn't hold a news conference this morning, particularly about the attack ads.
What was it about?
Well, it was about Chris Luxon was standing up in Napier, I think it was, and talking to journalists about the issues of the day. The attack ads came up, but that wasn't the reason.
Well, how did Chris Bishop get involved in it today?
Oh, well, he's a crybaby, isn't he?
So he's the campaign manager. He's going to
Did he hold a press conference for it?
Maybe he's worried about an attack out on him now.
Yeah.
Part of the challenge with this is that it won't appeal to some of the swing voters. If you think one of the big swing votes this election is going to be young women, they won't like that sort of stuff. No. And any government after 5.5, 6 years, should be standing on their record. And it looks like a bit of a panic for them that they're using surrogates to have a go at a personal issue, particularly when there's kids on stage only 24 hours previously.
Yeah.
Just not a good look for them, I think. And I just don't think it's going to work, actually.
The timing was really bad, I think, Phil.
I agree.
And the fact is, if the CTU has got this sort of money to spend on these ads, and it won't come cheap, a front page photograph or an advertisement in the Herald, wouldn't you have thought that they would have given even more money? They already give money to the Labour Party. Wouldn't you think they'd give even more money in terms of getting their act together during this election campaign?
Fair enough. Guys, what do you think? Is this Mussolini or Muldoon? I've heard Mussolini, but I think Muldoon.
It's a mashup.
Is it
Muldoon
a mashup?
Muldoon, maybe.
Yeah.
It's a pity he hasn't got that crinkle in his cheek, because if he had that,
do a bit of AI.
it'd be the old
I have a
grunter.
question for you, Barry, because you've been around in the media for a long time. Is this a bad look for the Herald?
No, I don't think it is. I mean, this is it's a commercial organisation.
They will lose subscriptions over this.
Well, I think they're crybabies, those who say we're not going to read the Herald anymore because they're running naughty photos of Chris Luxon. I mean, have a look at the bloody thing, for God's sake. It's got advertisement at the top, and down the bottom it's got CTU. If you can't read, don't buy the Herald.
All right. Settle down. Geez, started off. This is coming in hot, isn't he? Anyway, we'll take a break back with these lads in just a tick, 1:15.
The NZ Superstock Team Champs is coming up, and you could be going with 8 VIP experiences up for grabs. So get registered online now for your chance to win.
At a time when the purity of the air we breathe has never been more important, Daikin invites you to consider the importance of the air you breathe. If one of your family suffers from sniffles, allergies or asthma, a Daikin air purifier could be the answer. Daikin air purifiers blend advanced technology with ultra-quiet operation to eliminate bacteria, airborne particles and odours. The result? Cleaner, fresher, healthier air. Daikin does what some don't. Find your specialist Daikin dealer today at daikin.co.nz.
It's time to get planting, New Zealand, and make your veggie patch the talk of the town and trade tested. We've got garden beds, watering systems, plus a huge range of greenhouses to keep the lettuce crispy, the tomatoes chubby, and those chilies firing all summer long. Head to Trade Tested today.
Hey mate, could you get a hand moving house? Sure, mate.
Mates are no-show? World Moving and Storage are your best mates on moving day, on time and with their own truck.
World Moving and Storage.
Call 0800 4WORLD.
Hello, I'm Steve from Allied Exteriors. Do you have a plaster home that is due for maintenance? If you want to preserve the value in your precious asset or are intending to sell, Allied Exteriors can help you. Whether you need a repaint, plaster repairs or a full plaster system refurbishment, we have a range of options for you to consider. Maximise the value in your plaster home and keep it looking great with quality maintenance. Go to alliedexteriors.co.nz.
Exercise can often take a back seat during the winter months. If so, then Pendulum's Metabolic Daily might be what you're looking for. This unique probiotic contains 5 live strains, which together work to support the breakdown of sugar and carbohydrates for a normal, healthy metabolism. Start your day with Pendulum's Metabolic Daily, available exclusively at pendulumlife.co.nz. That's pendulumlife.co.nz. Always read the label and follow directions. Matakana Health, Auckland.
Let's make one thing perfectly clear. Before you're faced with a big vet bill you can't afford, you don't have to put your pet down. Just pick up your phone and talk to the team at Pet Insure. Pet insurance, it's totally worth it.
Phone Pet Insure. 0800 367 444. 0800 367 444. 0800 367 444.
No topic is off limits. It's the Front Bench on Newstalk ZB.
4:18, and you're back with the Front Bench, which of course we will be doing every single Monday as we head towards the election. Heather, I'm going to cancel my Herald subscription because of their left political leanings. Heather, we phoned the Herald today to cancel the subscription, so disgusted. Heather, today we love the Herald cover. Luxon looks like Lord Voldemort, as in he who must not be named. All right, we're back with the Front Bench. Let's talk about the campaign launch. So here's the thing, Richard, with National's campaign launch yesterday, they didn't have any policies. They had a pledge card. Was that a missed opportunity?
I think it was. I think people expect something to grab onto. I think the members in the room, you could tell a few commentators have said that it was a bit flat. People were a bit like, well, what are we doing? What's the pledge card? And the pledge card didn't really have policies. It was sort of like high-level CEO kind of, this is the direction we're taking the company.
Yeah, vibes. What do you think, Barry?
The pledge card was used, of course, by Labour initially. Helen Clark used it in, I think it was 2005. And even before that, I think in 1999, she was using the pledge card. So it's an age-old thing for politicians to use it. But for anybody to say that the National Party launch was flat, they must have had their earphones on, because I was at both. I was at both Labour and National. For my liking, because I'm old-fashioned at these launches, I probably preferred the Labour Party one because, I like live music and what have you. And in terms of being slick, the National Party had it hands down. I mean, it was very American, and having been to presidential election campaign launches and stuff in the United States, it was very like that. But it was, I don't think they missed an opportunity at all on the policy. I think this is about a person that's been the leader of the National Party for less than 2 years, and I think it was about getting to know the man as opposed to policy. They had released, of course, one of their biggest policies of the campaign just last week, and that was the taxation policy. Try launching that at a campaign launch, and you'd have everybody crying in the aisles because it would be so boring. So I think they picked it. They picked it
just an 8-point plan instead.
I think they played it quite right, and really the Labour Party launch was marred by all the protesters that got inside the place, and Hipkins had to stop on 4 occasions while they were shut down.
Yeah, what do you reckon, Phil?
Well, I think they were both successful in the sense that they both had to, firstly, not make a mistake, and I don't think either of them did that. And to Barry's point, I think the biggest issue with the Nats was he had to look presidential. He had to look like he could be a prime minister, and I think he did that.
It was actually about selling him, not policy.
Exactly
wasn't it?
right. And with Hipkins, he needed to try and get back the narrative, and he tried to do that with one of the big things about which they seem to be very convinced about, which is dental care. So I think both of them set out to do what they needed to do, and I think they both probably succeeded. My only thought is, Does the punter in the street who's a swing vote actually take much notice? I'm not sure about it. To me, it seems like a thing much more for the faithful, much more to sort of confirm in everybody's minds the door knockers and the telephonists and so on are going to be out there spruiking them. It's much more for them, I think.
Yeah, it's a rah-rah event, isn't it, for people to get out? But it's all about television as well.
That's true.
And I think, I knew that what would happen, I think the winners out of all this is the Vision New Zealand Party, because they made a bloody nuisance of themselves, not just in the Labour Party launch, but outside the National Party one, and they got the publicity. I mean, All
right, we're going to come back to them a little bit later on. I'm just going to take a break again. Just want to remind you, if you want to hear from Richard Wagstaff, the CTU president, the guy who signed off essentially on that ad in the Herald, he's going to be with us after 5 o'clock. Right now, it's 4:22.
Newstalk ZB Auckland. Time saver traffic.
Naturally Organic Albany, your organic food and health store. Now, the Southern Motorway southbound is heavy from the Newmarket flyover to Highbrook. Citybound is out slow from Mount Wellington to Green Lane. Heavy on the southwest and southbound from George Bolt Memorial. Northbound is slow from Portage to Walmsley. And reports of a breakdown between Hillsborough and Dominion. 0800 Jammed updates us there. Northwestern Citybound heavy at the Northern Link. Naturally Organic Albany, Organic Braeburn, $3.98 per kilo. That's time saver traffic.
Open hearts.
Open minds.
Open day.
ACG Plessis-Allan and Karaka invites you to their open day on Saturday, September 9th.
Find out what sets the school and curriculum apart. Register online now. ACG Plessis-Allan. Learning without limits.
Hi, Mike Edwards from Staffline. The trucking industry is in for some tough times ahead. Finding good drivers and keeping them will become increasingly difficult. Your best move is to check out Staffline, New Zealand's specialist truck driving agency. In turbulent times, your best bet is temp drivers. Just like a tap, turn your supplier drivers on and off as needed.
Give Kath or Lisa a call at Staffline.
Get the best truck drivers from Staffline. 0800 get drivers.
Always read the label and take as directed. Sleep Drops Auckland.
So number 10 has been a bit shaky since getting home from the last tour. Jet lag maybe. And here he goes for the conversion. It's crucial points for the win. Oh no! That's a miss! Somebody really needs to take their sleep drops, I think.
Sleep Drops, sleep support. Sleep smarter, play better with Sleep Drops, your local sleep experts. Available at all good health stores, pharmacies, and from sleepdrops.co.nz.
The cost of energy has dramatically increased in recent years, and this trend is set to continue. Rheem, New Zealand's leading water heating brand, is here to assist with the latest in cost-saving hot water systems and solar solutions. Reduce your energy bills today and lower your impact on the environment. Visit rheem.co.nz or call 0800 657 336 and join the smart energy revolution.
Install a Rheem.
Install a Rheem.
Beer and wine sale is on now at Countdown. Get Villa Maria Private Bin or Jacobs Creek Reserve 750ml, $12 each. Or Export Gold Ultra or Tui bottles 12-pack, $19.90 a pack. The right drink for any occasion. Only at Countdown. Exclusions apply.
Big opinion, nothing held back. The Front Bench on Heather Plessis-Allan Drive. Newstalk ZB.
We're going to have to talk about Labor's, absolutely going to have to talk about Labor's dental policy, and we will do that after the headlines, so we'll do it in about 12 minutes' time. But first, one of the things that I thought, which was quite significant from Labor's campaign launch, and you can tell me what you think, Richard, was the fact that, as Phil says, it has to excite the base. And I think what Chippy did was he probably convinced Labor voters that he will give this his best shot. He had lots of energy.
Yeah, I think watching the scenes on the TV at night, it was that whole giving the vibe off to volunteers and supporters and maybe people who thought they might not want to vote, that they were positive. The room was pretty full. People were excited. And to have kind of that big policy direction of free dental long-term,
But do you think people left that room thinking, yeah, we could maybe win this?
Yeah, I think that's what they would have. It was sort of jubilant at the end of that. So people do turn up to those, they're kind of hardcore members of a party, but they would have left feeling that he was convincing, he was kind of a leader, and he was definitely in it to win it for the long term. So I think they'll come out of there and hand out their brochures and go door knocking for the rest of the next 6 weeks.
Yeah, they needed to do that because otherwise they might not have had any people turning up on election day. Phil, what do you think of the protesters, the fact that they've made themselves known in the last few days, in the last few weeks? They're clearly going to be a thing this election, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. And what's interesting is Labor's security procedures obviously pretty lax. I mean, that's a rookie error to let protesters in. You really should have a much tighter security net than that. The Nets did that and pushed them out the doors. But they're a classic example of a party that nobody's going to back in terms of advertising or whatever. So they've got to make their way by mucking things up.
You're talking about Hannah
up.
Tamaki's party and Brian Tamaki's
all those guys, as well as all these characters who are going to be there protesting. The only way they're going to get oxygen is to say this stuff and to excite their supporters out, but and also they it seems to me they want to actually make a mess of the current political process because they don't believe in it. They don't believe in this kind of normal democracy that we might think about. It seems to me. But it's just part of what we're going to have to deal with now.
I'll tell you what I noticed at the Labour Party launch. There was a really big presence of the Pacifica people. And when Chris, I was going to say Chris Luxon, it's quite confusing now, Chris Cross. When Hipkins made his way in, he embraced all the way up the aisle and mainly Pacifica people coming in. And I thought, it was great because they got close to their leader. And they weren't, I think, the protesters that were in there, and I was watching them quite closely. There was one geezer a couple of feet away from me that got up and said, "You don't listen to the people, you don't listen to the people," and he was shoved out. But he is an elderly guy. He wasn't part of Vision, I'll guarantee it. I saw him when I came in. He was on his own.
No, he was.
Was he?
Hey, but Barry, I mean, he was sitting right behind you, eh?
Yes, he was.
So do you think Chris Hipkins looked up and thought, there's Barry's mate?
Yeah,
Barry's brought his mate to the...
There's a plant.
Yeah.
It was my plant. You exposed me now.
Lucky you didn't get chucked out by GPS.
They were tempted, eh? They were like, Barry, kick him out. All right, guys, we'll take a break. We're going to go to the headlines after that. We'll come back, talk about the dental policy. Also, Burning Man has obviously made headlines for all the wrong reasons this year because we've got somebody who's dead. We've got 70,000 people isolated in Nevada. It's the middle of the desert and it's been raining, which is not obviously, normal. And so as a result, it's got real muddy. 70,000 people are isolated there and they're stopping them from being able to leave because of how muddy it is. So one of the guys who's there, Chris Knight, we've managed to get hold of him. We will be talking to him about 5:15. As I say, headlines next. Newstalk ZB.
Yeah, I just killed my ex. I still love him though. Rather be in hell than alone.
Sign up to One New Zealand and work wherever with endless data and free hotspotting. Call 0800 888 399. Fees and terms apply. See one.nz/business/mobile.
Forget hard work. Employment Hero makes it easy. Manage HR and connect teams working from anywhere and lift engagement to new heights, even on Mondays. This is the smarter way to manage people for small and medium-sized businesses on the up. Work easy. Search Employment Hero.
Peugeot, Citroën and Opel nationwide clean car clear out is now on. Save thousands on new electric, plug-in hybrid and petrol models. Starting from as low as $29,990 for Citroën, $31,990 for Opel and $35,990 for Peugeot, plus on-road costs. Accelerate your savings today while stocks last. Visit your local Armstrongs Peugeot, Citroën and Opel dealership or shop online at armstrongs.co.nz.
Put your flooring in the safe hands of Carpet Country, building strong and reliable relationships with their customers for over 24 years. Carpet Country makes your new flooring process easy. With all the best brands, advice and everything you need to make your flooring happen is taken care of. Carpet Country, 43 Carr Road, Mount Roskill, and online at carpetcountry.co.nz.
The best in the Carpet Country.
Start your spring cleaning with new Mold Wizard. It removes mold from outdoor furniture. Mold Wizard removes mold from canvas awnings. Mold Wizard removes mold from tents and umbrellas. You just spray and you'll slay all mold on all outdoor surfaces. Shop online now for Mold Wizard, and for a limited time you'll receive a 2-litre pack for just $59.99 plus delivery. Start your spring cleaning now with Mold Wizard. Available only online. Visit goodhomeproducts.co.nz.
Your trusted names for news and opinion.
Let's start with Labor first, out of the gate with their policy of free dental care for the under-30s. A policy they themselves said was unachievable just a month ago.
Does anyone believe it can possibly deliver this? They don't believe they can deliver this. If you've only got 60 living dental students being accepted every year in one place training them, that's a whole lot of people we're going to have to find from overseas, and let's hope they get the right visas, because immigration's a whole other mess as well.
Talking the stories that matter. Newstalk ZB. Heather Plessis-Allan, Barry Soper, Phil O'Reilly, Richard Hills. The Front Bench continues next on your home for election 2023. This is Newstalk ZB News.
It's 4:30. I'm Raylene Ramsey. Nationals campaign chair says CTU political ads are a disgraceful hatchet job, but won't work. The Council of Trade Unions billboards and newspaper ads call Chris Luxon out of touch and too much risk. Chris Bishop says National won't use nasty tactics but will focus on policies.
I think New Zealanders will see through it. I just don't want the conversation over the next few weeks to be about what the CTU thinks about Christopher Luxon and this American-style attack campaign that they are running.
Labour's Chris Hipkins says groups always run election ads and he's also being targeted. Nationals, meanwhile, promising to establish a cyclone and flood recovery ombudsman and says it would prioritise rebuilding transport and communications infrastructure. Gore District Council's Chief Executive Stephen Parry has resigned and will leave on October 31. Our trade surplus with China continues to widen. Stats NZ says we exported $5.8 billion of goods and services to China between April and June. We imported $3.8 billion worth from China over the same period, a higher figure than before the pandemic because of increased e-car imports. A major breakthrough for people with primary progressive multiple sclerosis. Pharmax confirmed it'll fund treatment for those with the most debilitating form of MS, for the first time widening access to ocrelizumab. Multiple Sclerosis NZ President Neil Woodham says it'll help people stay out of a wheelchair longer.
That means that they can continue to be employed, they can continue to be part of the regular society and do the things that they normally do.
In sport, a shock exit for women's top seed Iga Swiatek at the US Tennis Open in New York. The four-time Grand Slam winner has been bundled out in the fourth round, losing to Jelena Ostapenko in 3 sets. Peter Toiava has been entirely left out of the Silver Ferns teams to play both England and Australia due to fitness standards. The wing attack's been named in the New Zealand A side, but will still train with the Ferns after missing out on last month's Netball World Cup. I'm Raylene Ramsey. That is Newstalk ZB News and Sport with One New Zealand, one giant leap for business. It's now 4:33. Heather Plessis-Allan is next.
Newstalk ZB Auckland. Time saver traffic.
Let your taste buds bloom this spring at Sky City. Now, the Southern Motorway southbound is slow between the Newmarket flyover and Highbrook. Citybound also slow from Mount Wellington to Green Lane. It's a heavy run southbound on the southwestern, the tail back to Walmsley Road. Northbound is heavy but moving from Puhunui to Mangere Bridge. Northern Motorway northbound is heavy approaching Tristram, then again Oteha Valley to Lonely Track. Celebrate Sky City's spring set menus with bubbles included at selected restaurants. T's and C's apply.
Heard something that shouldn't have been on the radio? You can make a formal complaint. Complaints should be in writing within 20 days of broadcast, online at newstalkzb.co.nz or by post to the Complaints Manager, Private Bag 92198 Auckland. If you're not satisfied with the outcome, or if it's a privacy complaint, you can go directly to the BSA. For more info about broadcasting standards and the complaints process, visit bsa.govt.nz.
GVK Finance. Amongst other things, last month they financed the purchase of 6 tradie vehicles, 3 diggers, a mobile tree chipper, 3 swing lift trailers, a refrigerated truck, and even a king hitter post rammer. So, what will GVK Finance be financing next month? Well, that's up to you. When it comes to asset finance, Greg and the team are the greatest asset of all. They're your trusted business finance brokers. GVK Finance.
Yeah, I see ya. Steaming away behind me like a kumara cooking in a hangi. Just call your jets, Flash Gordon. There's a passing lane 40 k's ahead from memory. But you count your lucky stars, mate. You're stuck behind a handsome Kiwi-built devil like me. And there's only one bunch of jokers who treat this caravan like family. Star Insure. It's the insurance your caravan would choose to help you escape the ordinary. starinsure.co.nz.
The Huddle.
With Heather Plessis-Allan Drive, weekdays at 20 to 6. Get every side of the story with The Huddle, with Vega Mortgages, cutting your mortgage cost, not your dreams.
The Huddle.
With Heather Plessis-Allan Drive on Newstalk ZB.
Hi, Stephen Hunt from Ian Hunt Flooring. This month only, I have special deals on winter warm carpet from Feltex Godfrey Hirst. That's special deals on winter warm carpet. Visit Ian Hunt Flooring, Albany and Mount Wellington.
Ian Hunt Flooring.
Hard-hitting views, untamed. The Front Bench on Heather Plessis-Allan Drive. Newstalk ZB.
Right, welcome back. Of course, we've got the news. Tomorrow we're going to be disrupted by 5,500 senior doctors and 100 dentists going on strike. That'll be happening between 2 o'clock and midday and 2 o'clock tomorrow. So we'll have a chat. Basically what they want is an adjustment at the rate of inflation, and why wouldn't you? Otherwise you're taking a pay cut. We'll talk to Health New Zealand about it. They'll be with us 5:10. Right now you're back with the Front Bench. Obviously we have Barry Soper, senior political correspondent, Phil O'Reilly, Iron Duke Partners, and Richard Hills, Auckland councillor. So I want to talk about the dental policy. Barry, what do you make of it? This is from Labour.
Well, how they're going to magic up 5 or 50% more students to study dental care, goodness only knows. I mean, it takes 5 years, as I understand it, to get through the degree. So how they're going to do that by 2026, I think it is beyond me. And if you look at the Dental Association, they say that the costings are well out. You're going to get that all through this campaign, though. Everybody comes up with a policy and the costings are always out. You can understand the person in the street saying, this is a great policy. Wouldn't we all love free dental? And that's the ultimate objective, is to give everybody free dental care. Well, I'd love it. Mind you, I'm getting a bit long on the tooth for it now, not to
pun intended. Pun intended.
But no, honestly, that it's a very populist policy people will like it, but it's the reality of it. It's cloud cuckoo land.
Do you think people are going to like it, Phil, or does it just look desperate?
Yeah, people will think it's nice. Will it change your vote, though? I mean, I'm not sure about that. And
it's got to pass the sniff test, and this is the problem. This is a point that was made in an opinion piece over the weekend. It's got to pass the sniff test, and it doesn't. It doesn't. That money looks too low, $390 million. Really? Plus, as Barry says, you can't get the staff. So people look at that and they go, ain't going to happen from a party that doesn't deliver.
And here's form. Last election, when Chris Hipkins was health minister, they announced 20 mobile dental clinics to go out and help kids in the rural areas and so on. How many delivered?
None.
Well, precisely 0 delivered so far. And so when you look at this, I mean, it's just so up for attack, isn't it? Well,
not believable.
Deliver some vans. How are you going to deliver free dental care? So the question I've got is will somebody say, I was thinking about voting Nats, I'm going to vote Labor now? I mean, I just don't think that kind of policy gets you there. I don't think it's a game-changing policy for Labor. I mean, no doubt popular, but I just don't think they can pull it off as a game-changer.
It's not your interest-free student loans. I mean, at least you could do something
with a stroke of a pen.
With a stroke of a pen. Sorry.
I mean, that was far more expensive, I guess. I think I feel a bit bad for them.
Come on, justify it.
The Greens are saying it's not ambitious enough. National are saying it's too ambitious. I mean, it's just like paid parental leave. Labor pulled that in over a long time. Free doctors' care for kids, like they've increased that age over time. I think it's a good intent. I think it actually is, pretty for an election policy to say, hey, this won't lock until 2026. I think some people would be like, oh, come on, let it happen quicker. What they are saying is that they do require far more immigration.
Well, actually,
in a short amount of time.
Their timeline on it is the most realistic thing about it, isn't it? Because it's an admission that it takes some time.
No one is putting out policies for the election saying, 2026.
Tell you what my first reaction to it was, Richard, was I looked at it and went, hold on, what? You guys have just been telling us, as in the Labor Party, has just been telling us it's an election campaign of restraint, and now you're offering free dental health care to all of these people. That doesn't look very restrained, does it?
Well, I guess they're saying they're restraining it by bringing it in slowly over 2.5 years, and it's only to the under 30s. It's not everyone like the Greens are saying. So
they want it to be universal, though, ultimately, and that's the promise.
It'll save money over time. I mean, people's dental health, if you look at under 30s, that drop-off after 18, even I don't think we get a dentist for like 10 years.
I think on principle, most of us would agree that we have to get to this point at some stage. It's
universal. I mean, the kids are millionaires getting free dental care. I mean, can't they even target it properly? And they just can't bring themselves to target welfare.
I'm worried about anybody targeting anything, because next minute you're targeting for race. Do you know what I mean? So doesn't it have to be universul?
I'll just do income, you know what I mean? I mean, why is it, if I had kids at 30, I don't, I'm too young, they wouldn't, they wouldn't, I could afford dental care, just give it to poor people, will you? Move on. I just don't understand why they can't get that right.
Let's accept, Phil, that we all agree that there are people who can't afford it, who should have free access to it. Yep. Is now the election that we think that we need to do it?
Well, 2026 might be. I mean, if it goes there, I mean, you've got to do it sometime, to be fair, but I wouldn't do it right now because we're under a lot of cost pressure. But the other thing that I thought when that statement was made, I was out having a cup of coffee on Sunday afternoon when I saw it, and I thought, gee, it really sets up the ideological divide in this election.
Mm-hmm.
The Labor guys seem to be incapable of giving anybody a tax cut. They just can't bring themselves to do it. So they've got to chuck some more welfare at stuff. And in my view, it has less of an impact. When I looked at the stuff the Nats are doing around tax, which is the other alternative policy, I can look down the thing and see that I get $80 a fortnight,
Yeah, but to be fair, the Nats are accused of the same thing. I mean, they're doling out welfare in their tax package as well, aren't they?
Sure.
It's welfare
but it's a different style of thing.
I mean, someone on the minimum, just under the minimum wage gets $2 a week, and I get $20 a week. I mean, I would prefer the dental policy to be rolled in over time, because that'd be far more effective than giving someone $10, $20 a week.
But you mean that minimum wage has been rising really fast under Labor? You mean that one?
Those guys have actually, I think there is a sentiment, and this is what Labor doesn't understand. There's a sentiment out there from the so-called squeeze middle that the guys at the bottom have been helped and the guys at the top are fine, and it's the ones in the. That's why there is no assistance there for the lowest workers, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could say, I mean, under John Key, minimum wage only went up 30% in 9 years. I think it's gone up 45% in 6. But you think of all those workers during COVID, supermarket workers, the bus drivers, the cleaners, they are all struggling too. I mean, everyone is feeling that squeeze. So I guess I feel $15 billion to give someone like me $20 seems a bit.
You're worth $20, Richard.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
not 21, but 20.
Just 20. No more, no less. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back and talk about the big hole in the National Party tax plans as well. 17 away from 5.
At ACG Schools, our students develop a passion for learning.
Because passionate learners are curious.
That curiosity leads to the discovery of talents.
That discovery grows confidence.
And confidence helps our students fulfill their potential.
From early learning to year 13, let ACG unlock a world of opportunity.
ACG Schools. Learning without limits.
Looking forward to an okay retirement? Step it up with Staircase. Find out how you could use the equity in your home to invest in a new build rental property. You could build a rental portfolio with no cash up front and help meet New Zealand's need for housing. Book your free no-obligation chat at staircase.co.nz. Invest with Staircase and step up to the future you've always wanted. Staircase.co.nz.
How do I move my collection of 5,348 hot sauce bottles?
Relax. Budget Truck Rentals have vehicles to suit any job, so don't let the hassle of the wrong size truck stop you from getting to the good stuff. To find out more, search Budget Truck Rentals.
Save on UK and Europe cruising with Norwegian Cruise Line and Flight Centre. Get up to 35% off your Barcelona to Rome 4-night cruise, now from $1,515 per person. Call 0800 19 0008. Conditions apply.
Flight Centre.
Did you know that 80% of people can roll their tongues? Let me guess, you just tried to roll your tongue? All because I mentioned it? All because I put that thought in your head? Well, that's the power of radio. We hear something and it influences our thoughts and our actions. Advertising with NZME can give your business that same power. So get the ball rolling, not to mention tongues wagging. Email advertise@nzme.co.nz.
Newstalk ZB Auckland community notices with Danske Mobile Furniture celebrating 65 years with a huge anniversary sale.
Everyone's favourite community sale is headed to the North Shore. Dress for Success has a huge range of gently loved women's clothing, shoes, handbags and accessories, all for $5 an item. Support Dress for Success and the work they do in our local communities at the Takapuna Cricket Club on Northcote Road, September 8th and 9th from 10 till 4 each day.
Caring for our community. Newstalk ZB and Danske Mobile Furniture. Thrashing out the big issues. The Front Bench on Heather Plessis-Allan Drive. Newstalk ZB.
It's 14 away from 5. Richard Wagstaff of the CTU with us after 5 o'clock. Barry, I want to start with you on the National Party's tax costings. Are they going to have to front with their numbers?
What, their private advice they've had?
Because it's not believable.
Well, no, it's a difficult one for them because, if they say, but haven't they named the advisor?
They named, but different subject, right? So Robin Oliver gave them advice on whether they breached the treaty with China.
Well, that's and other trade treaties.
I want to see the numbers for how they get to 740 million because that's ludicrous.
Well, that's the big issue.
Do they need to release those costings?
Well,
they can't just keep telling us we're confident.
It's like I said, Heather, that in an election campaign, you can't be untruthful, that's for sure. You've got to tell the public the truth. Politicians say, trust me. Well, we've got a bit beyond that, I think, in politics, regardless of their political hue. So I think if they want to prove a point, they should actually release the workings of the money behind this policy, because it is one of their centrepiece policies and they've really got to make it look as good as it possibly can. And at the moment, because we've been discussing the attack ads, we're not really turning our attention to that as we were a couple of days ago.
Go on, why are you shaking your head, Richard?
Oh, I watched Nicola Willis on Q&A yesterday.
Yeah.
She must have been really peeved off because she never got to mention the tax cuts at all. All she was doing was explaining it, and it doesn't make sense. She finally admitted that the average house that would have to be sold under that policy would have to be 2.9 million, which means about 1,600 of them, which is about 30 or 40% of the houses being sold over 2 million now. And then you'd have to convince those people to be spending an extra 430 grand on top to pay that tax. So that's a lot of houses suddenly going to be purchased. And the tax treaty thing, New South Wales are now refunding 2 years of these taxes for their tax treaty. Ontario, there's far bigger than us. They've got similar tax. They're only picking up $170 million a year. So there's no way that they are going to pick up this kind of money.
Not at all, Phil.
Explaining is losing. They won't explain. They're just going to move on. They're going to say, look at that, $80 in your pocket or $200 or whatever it is. They're just going to keep on going on that, right?
Can I ask you something? Okay, so this is what I found absolutely fascinating, Phil, is that when you talk to people about it, including somebody I know who said, I didn't realise they're not going to be able to make those numbers. And you go, yeah, they're not going to make the numbers. And they go, they'll find a way.
Exactly.
Why are people cutting Nicola Willis and the Nat slack on this one?
Because the government's also got form on making up numbers. And unlike last time when Goldsmith got absolutely hammered for his mistake, now the government's spending $50 million on a cycleway and doesn't get the idea that the vibe has gone against the government now.
Yeah.
So, and I would say, I know Robin Oliver very well. It's a rather beltway thing to say, but if he says it can be done technically and legally, I'd agree with that. He's an ex-IRD sort of guru. This guy knows more about tax than I'll ever know. Yep. So I trust him on that. So the question really is only, is it doable in the context of what they're saying? And then I look at how much they're going to save out of the government, which I think $560 million or something. My argument is that they could save that if they're serious about that. They could save that in a weekend. There is a huge amount of opportunity to save money. So tax is always a dynamic thing. Have a look at what Labor said. They said, we're going to save X bucks out of taking GST off fruit and veg. Well, that wasn't right, was it? Nobody believed that.
Well, do you know what, Phil? Not a mention of that yesterday at the campaign launch.
Exactly right.
On Saturday. Not a mention.
They are embarrassed by their own policy. Hey, Richard, I've got a treat for you, just in case you haven't heard it.
Okay.
Winston Peters has released an ad on Twitter of himself on a horse. Have a listen.
To govern a country, you need experience. And this is not our first rodeo.
Excited by Winston being back, Richard?
I saw it, and you could see him laughing while he was doing it.
He's having fun.
That is like the nanas up and down the country are going to love that. Winston on a horse. No, I don't want him to be. I don't know why he's doing all this anti-vax stuff and anti-trans stuff. Like, it's just like he's going down the list of exciting things on the internet, and like someone's giving him the lines. It's not like him, but it's sadly working.
Well, if it wasn't for Winston, I'll tell you what, Richard, Labor wouldn't be in power today.
Well, you never know.
Well, what do you think, Phil? He's back,
When I watched it, I thought, that's Putin. Because remember, Putin was on
that's right, he did.
You should get the gear off and
why didn't he get the
Putin, I thought,
Oh, did you want him to go bare-chested like Putin?
Putin, yeah.
Show us what a real man he is.
I was thinking world leaders on horses. Putin. There it is.
Yeah.
He's done a Putin.
Something for us to all look forward to. We're all going to hit. We're all going to refresh Winston's Twitter account. Now we'll come back and just to get your take for what you're looking forward to in the next week. It's 10 to 5.
Newstalk ZB Auckland. Time saver traffic.
Palmer's spring sale is on now. The Northern Motorway northbound is slow between Fanshawe and the bridge due to an earlier breakdown, which is now clear of lanes. Citybound, no delays. The Southern Motorway southbound is slow run between the Newmarket flyover and Highbrook. Citybound is slow from Mount Wellington to Green Lane. And the northwest and westbound slow between Grafton Gully and Bond Street. Citybound slow at the Northern Link. Visit your nearest Palmer's Garden Centre or shop online at palmers.co.nz. Time saver traffic.
Let's make one thing perfectly clear. Before you're faced with a big vet bill you can't afford, you don't have to put your pet down. Just pick up your phone and talk to the team at Pet Insure. Pet insurance, it's totally worth it.
Phone Pet Insure. 0800 367 444. 0800 367 444. 0800 367 444.
The demand for technology, transformation and digital professionals is strong right across New Zealand. Let Beyond Recruitment help you find your next job, or if you're an employer, your next amazing IT staff member. Visit beyondrecruitment.co.nz.
Art lovers of Auckland, this one's for you. See over 100 of New Zealand's best artists at Eden Park this weekend and take home the art you love. Tickets are $15, kids get in free. Book now at artinthepark.co.nz.
For almost 65 years, the team at Redgrave's Home Fabrics have worked to ensure that we provide our clients with beautiful, quality curtain fabrics in the very latest designs that simply will never be available in every paint and carpet store in Auckland. We want to assist our clients to create a unique interior, and we want to show you that great personalised design need cost no more. Call Redgrave's Home Fabrics now for one of our very talented designers to call.
Visit goodhomeproducts.co.nz and watch the online video that's gone viral. It's about a new DIY product called Curtain Wizard. It's designed to make it easy for you to remove mold from your curtains, blinds and drapes. With Curtain Wizard, you don't take your curtains down. You simply spray and the mold will go away. Shop online now for Curtain Wizard, and for a limited time get a 2-litre pack for just $59.99 plus delivery. Visit goodhomeproducts.co.nz.
Start the day informed. The Mike Hosking Breakfast.
Part of the Labor election launch, they rolled out the promise of free dental care for some, of course, but you will need to be patient. The last of it doesn't arrive until 2026. Minister of Health, Aisha Verrill's with us. How much is the bill for this?
For the dental policy for under 30s, over the forecast period, it'll cost $38 million.
Not the end of the world, isn't it? Why haven't you done it 6 years ago?
Oh, look, there's been a lot of different priorities for our health system, including the health reforms and fighting COVID. Now, as our health reforms are complete, we have the opportunity to start reorientating our system towards those things that keep people well and out of hospital, and this is a key one.
Back tomorrow at 6 a.m. The Mike Hosking Breakfast with the Land Rover Defender, 1:30, Newstalk ZB.
Right, Richard Wagstaff of the CTU will be with us in just over 14 minutes' time or thereabouts. You're back with the front bench, Barry Soper, Phil O'Reilly and Richard Hills. We'll just wrap very quickly, guys, with each of what you're looking forward to in the next week. Barry, I'll start with you. What are you looking forward to?
Well, I've been looking at the schedules for the leaders of the two main parties. The Labor Party are going to be making 4 policy announcements between now and the next time we're on this program.
Wow.
So that's quite a lot. The National Party, if you look at the program, they're making none, but I'm sure they'll be making some. So they're out and about. I think it's the build up to the big number, and that comes on Tuesday next week, the preview. So we'll see the exact state of the books then, and every indication is, even from Grant Robertson himself, the books aren't that healthy.
What are the chances, Barry, that they do the old Muldooney trick and they talk it up as being really bad, and then when you open it's not that bad?
Well, they've certainly done a good job of that so far, because we're all expecting a pretty dire set of books next Tuesday, but, who knows?
Richard?
I'm actually looking forward to seeing something from the minor parties. They seem to have been all sort of disappeared a bit.
New Zealand first.
Well, I'm not looking forward to it, but I just want to see what they're offering, because we're going to have a 3-way government no matter what, by the looks. It's going to be ACT, New Zealand First or National. It's going to be Labour, Greens and Te Pāti Māori. I want to know what they're offering, because those negotiations...
Do you know what, Richard? It's one of the rare cases where I actually want the tail to wag the dog, because I think the dog is going to be a little bit, maybe a bit meek at the moment. How do you feel about that prospect?
Well, that's the issue with the two main or major parties, that people aren't necessarily very excited with them right now. So I think there is a bit of shaking up, but it will be with how it's all paid for you and how those machinations really work. And if people need to understand that in this MMP environment, what that means, you're voting for one side or one party, but what it means is a total. And so we need to have a bit more of that with 6 weeks to go, what it's going to look like on the other side of it.
Fair enough, Phil.
I'm looking forward to the fun of the campaign. I'm looking forward to people making mistakes, somebody falling into a swimming pool, or headbutting, or accidentally headbutting a kid when they're trying to go in for a kiss.
Or like a dildo
that
on
sort
the
of
chin.
exactly a dildo, because that's the fun of it, isn't it? I'm looking forward to Shane Jones releasing the greatest hits version of his.
Have you heard the new Shane Jones karaoke?
It's a shocker, isn't it?
The new one today?
I know. Is you know one today?
Yeah, there's another one. I'll play it shortly.
Making Northland great, all that. Oh, brilliant. So I'm looking forward to some of the fun of it, because there's a bit of fun about it, isn't there? All the handshaking and the buses and all the hoopla and so on. So I'm looking forward to a bit of that and a bit of good old-fashioned stuff. And what you'll see this week also is they'll start to, well, they have already, but you'll see a lot more of the grappling together, trying to find a chink, trying to find something to do. I love all that detail, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, you're such a nerd, aren't you? Guys, thank you very much. Really appreciate it from all of you. We'll have you back again on Monday next week at 4 o'clock. We'll do the front bench again. Barry Soper, Senior Political Correspondent. Phil O'Reilly, Iron Duke Partners, of course, former CEO of Business New Zealand. And Richard Hills, Auckland Council. As I said, Richard Wagstaff of the CTU defending that attack aid in just a tick. And then after that, we'll talk to Health New Zealand. Andrew Slater is the guy they're putting up. He'll talk us through the doctor's strike. And I'll play you the Jonesy karaoke in the theme of what is it this time? It's another 80s banger, I think. So anyway, we'll get that out for you and cheer you up a little bit. Newstalk ZB.